The thing that I've been stressing a lot to clients and to my employees too, because I feel like as a trainer and a business owner, I have to make sure, I'm teaching everybody all the time, right? But one of the things that I try and make it things as simple as possible, right? Because dog training is what, taking these really complex things and breaking them down into small, bite-sized pieces. At least that's in my brain what I thought of. That's what I was always told.
Yeah.
And also, as like an aside, my background is in education. Like, I used to be an English teacher. I have a master's degree in education. So education has been my career path since the beginning, but also something I rely heavily upon and I love doing. You just gotta just let the dog know it just can't do that. Mm-hmm. You know, you literally just can't do that. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not sorry. Half the time it's just like, you just can't bite people. Yeah. Half the time you just can't piss on my plants. Like, you just can't do that.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's been a thing that's been wildly successful too. When you try and leave my clients with little mottos, you know Chad Mackin always had his he always has these little sayings. Like, Chad Mackin is the master of posting little tidbits about profound sayings, and I'll never pretend to be a profound human being or have these incredibly profound messages. I think Sean Shades does a lot of that too, which 100%. Is which to me at some point is like, dude, who cares? Just train a fucking dog. But my profoundness is like, just don't let them do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how? I'm like, and literally any way you can. Yeah. But most of the time it's, well, use the leash. Right? Use a leash, use an e-collar. It's like you're given the tools, and we're giving you the tools to make your dog successful. Mm-hmm. And I think that where me and my training staff really excel is, I don't want to say hounding the client, but like stressing to the point and making it incredibly, imperatively clear that this is a situation that you are in control of all the time, and you cannot let the dog do this. That's all. Mm-hmm. Like if you have learned nothing in the past 4 months or 4 weeks of working with me and your dog, don't forget that.
I think the point that you just said about like you truly are in control of everything is so important. You know, I think a lot of people want to make so many excuses for why they can't get their dog to do something when all of these things, dude, I mean, I did a phone call with a guy yesterday, I believe, and he wants to sign his 3 dogs up for board and trains, but he wants to do it like 2 first, then the third, like after the other 2 get home. And I was like, yeah, we could do that. I was like, what are your issues? And he's like, well, the third one, I mean, his first 2 had issues. He's like, yeah, I want to do board and train, whatever. I was like, that's fine. The third one is just like a young dog that's having accidents all over the house. And he's like, I want to do a board and train. And I just told him, I was like, this isn't a dog problem. You know what I mean? Like, your dog having accidents all over your house is virtually 100% of the time a supervision problem, and it's your fault, and you're in control of that, and you could, within a week, make sure that doesn't happen again, but you have to accept the fact that you are in control of that behavior, right? Because he was trying to say, like, oh, well, the dog's doing it because he's mad, or he's doing it because he's anxious or upset with me or spiteful or something like that. I was like, it just doesn't work that way, right? And even if he did, even if the dog was mad that you were leaving the house or mad that you were going into your office for an hour, so it decided it needed to have an accent because it was mad, that still is something you're totally in control of, because it means that regardless of if they're mad or anxious or just doing it because they're a puppy, they're still just doing it because you're allowing them to do it because you're not supervising them, in anything, even like off-leash dogs is a common one. I think a lot of people say that they truly don't have control over. And that one I'm empathetic to an extent, to an extent, yes, you can't control if an off-leash dog sprints out of a house at you while you're out on a walk. What are you doing over there?
Right. What am I doing?
Are you just licking your wallet?
Yeah, there's a loose thread over here and it's pissing me off.
So I was like looking over, I was like munching on his wallet.
We can see everything, man.
Just munching on my wallet, bro.
I love it. But yeah, so, off-leash dogs, even though, like, yes, the 1 out of 10 times that it happens where it truly is out of nowhere is kind of a not your fault, out of your control situation. But a lot of the 9 out of 10 times that I see it happen at parks or in public spaces and stuff like that, it's always happening in an area that you know is predominantly where people let their dogs run off leash and play. You know what I mean? So we could, if we're going into that area knowing, like there's a couple places around us, a couple parks that are like the quote unquote like dog park, you know? And if we go into those areas knowing that this place is where people take their dogs to run and play off leash, the probability of an off leash dog running up to me is so much higher than if I were to just be walking through the neighborhood or walking in a populated park that is very strict about their leash laws or something like that. So you can control it by just avoiding those areas. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to have to avoid those areas. It's like, yeah, but you could, you know, what's the give and take of it of like, you know, I don't want to have to have my off-leash dogs run up to my dog, but I don't want to avoid certain areas. It's like, well, which one is worse? You avoiding an area or off-leash dogs running up to you all the time? And you have to be able to have that conversation with yourself and admit that I can control making sure this probably doesn't happen at the risk of me just maybe not doing all the things that I want to do.